It was the kind of afternoon that made you forget time. The sun was still high, but no longer at its peak, leaning slightly westward, beginning its slow descent. The air, once hot and heavy, had started to lighten. A faint breeze had returned, rustling tree leaves and brushing gently against the skin like a soft reminder that evening was on its way. Shadows began to stretch, quietly marking the passing hours. The bright intensity of noon was fading, replaced by a warmer, richer light, a soft gold that painted everything with calmness. The streets, once filled with footsteps and chatter, had begun to quiet down. It was the pause between day and dusk, when everything feels suspended, still awake, but starting to dream. In a small town bordered by green hills and wheat fields, life moved slowly in this hour. Outside a modest cafe near the town square, a few tables sat under wide umbrellas. People lingered over half-empty glasses of iced tea and lemonade, their voices soft and unhurried. Some scrolled lazily through their phones, others simply watched the world around them. The clink of spoons against glass and the occasional laughter of a friend's story added a gentle rhythm to the air. Across the street, the baker leaned on the doorframe of his shop, wiping his hands on a white apron. Inside, the scent of warm bread still lingered, but most of the shelves were already empty. It was too late for fresh pastries, too early for dinner bread. He gazed at the road, not expecting customers, just watching the way sunlight danced on window panes, and the way a cat moved slowly across the cobblestones, tail flicking like a metronome. Children played in the side streets, their games quieter now, their energy softened by the sun's long hours. A ball bounced gently off the wall, a girl skipped rope in the shade, and two boys sat under a tree sharing a melting ice cream, sticky fingers and all. Down by the river, the water shimmered like glass, reflecting the amber light of the lowering sun. A few ducks floated calmly, trailing little ripples behind them. On the wooden bridge, an elderly man rested his arms on the railing, looking out. He wasn't in a rush. No one was. Not at this hour. Even the dogs seemed to know it was time to slow down. A golden retriever lay half asleep under a bench, while a smaller terrier walked slowly beside its owner, stopping often, sniffing bushes and tree trunks with deep curiosity. In the fields at the edge of town, the farmers had paused their work. Tractors sat still, casting long shadows across the land. Workers rested under the shade of nearby trees, drinking water from thermoses, their faces dusty but content. The crops, corn, sunflowers, barley, stood tall, glowing under the afternoon sun, gently waving in the breeze. On a rooftop terrace above a row of small shops, a young woman sat with her notebook, legs curled beneath her. She was writing slowly, thoughtfully. Every now and then, she would stop, look up at the sky, and let her mind drift. The pages of her notebook fluttered in the wind. A mug of tea sat beside her, half full and forgotten. Nearby, a narrow alley led to a quiet courtyard, where vines crawled along the brick walls, and potted plants lined the windowsills. An old radio played soft jazz from an open window, blending with the occasional hum of a bee and the distant ringing of a bicycle bell. A man sat on a stool, painting a flower pot, his shirt stained with color. He hummed as he worked, not needing an audience. Time moved differently here, or maybe it just felt that way. The sun hadn't set yet, but the day had already begun to exhale. Everything seemed touched by something gentle, something golden. As the clock crept toward 5, the shops began to close, one by one. Shutters were drawn halfway. "See you tomorrow," echoed from doorways. In the grocery store, the owner rearranged a basket of peaches by the window, their skins glowing orange in the sunlight. He picked one up, smelled it, smiled, and placed it at the top of the pile. In the garden behind an old inn, a mother and daughter watered the plants together. The little girl giggled as the water splashed her shoes. The mother didn't scold her, she just laughed too, brushing damp hair from her daughter's forehead. From inside the inn, the smell of soup and roasted vegetables drifted out. Cars passed slowly along the road, their windows rolled down, music faintly playing. One driver tapped the wheel in rhythm to a familiar tune. Another waved at a neighbor as he passed. There was no hurry to get anywhere, only the quiet joy of being on the road during a beautiful hour. The sun, now touching the tops of trees, turned the sky a deeper gold. Birds began their evening songs, calling to each other from rooftops and wires. Their silhouettes against the light were like little moving notes on a sheet of sky. In this in-between time, not quite afternoon, not quite evening, the world felt open and kind. People seemed softer, words were slower, smiles lasted longer. It wasn't the silence of emptiness, but the peace of fullness, a calm earned after the rush of midday, a comfort before the mystery of night. By the time I turned to walk home, the light had changed again, cooler now, softer. The trees whispered, the clouds glowed, and the sky stretched wide, carrying the promise of a gentle night ahead. Word count 1050. Reading time 10-12 minutes. Mood calm. Descriptive. Peaceful transition from afternoon to evening, perfect for storytelling, relaxation reading, English listening practice, or narrative writing. Reference Kalau Kamu Ingin Cerita Ini Dibuat Dalam Bentuk PDF, ebook, mini audio, narasi MP3 versi anak-anak, monolog atau dialog pendek untuk drama. Tinggal beritahu saya, ya, mau dilanjutkan ke bagian malam hari. Anda bilang lebih banyak lagi kat bilang tentu. Mari kita lanjutkan cerita suasana siang menjelang sore hari dalam bahasa Inggris. Ini adalah bagian lanjutan, memperluas deskripsi, menambahkan lebih banyak sudut pandang, suasana hati, dan interaksi kesal yang memperkaya cerita. Between day and dusk, part to continuation. As I continued walking through the quiet streets, I noticed how the light changed everything. What looked ordinary at noon now glowed with a softness that made it seem touched by magic. Walls that were once plain turned golden. Windows sparkled like glass lanterns. Even the dust rising from the road shimmered in the warm light. Near the schoolyard, children were being picked up one by one. Backpacks bounced on small shoulders as they ran toward waiting parents. The noise here was still alive, voices calling out, car doors shutting, bikes rolling. A little girl showed her drawing to her father, holding it up proudly with both hands. Look, Daddy, it's our house in the sunset. He crouched down, smiled wide, and said, it looks just like today. Just a few blocks away, a community garden sat in stillness. Elderly women in wide hats were tending to rows of green beans and tomatoes. One of them, her back slightly bent, stood upright and stretched. Almost time to go in, she said to the others. The sun will leave us soon, but no one rushed. They moved slowly, as if each minute in the garden was too sweet to let go of. In the hills above town, a family had set out a picnic under the shade of a large oak tree. Their blanket was filled with sandwiches, fruit, and cold drinks. A baby lay on her back, blinking up at the sky. A little boy threw